Hey y'all! So I'm back with the Magic Treehouse Nonfiction Companion to Pirates Past Noon, and it's just called Pirates. So I'm going to split it like I did the Mummies and Pyramids, and I'm going to split it up by chapters. So you got your book, let's go. Chapter 1 is called The First Pirates. For as long as there have been ships sailing the seas, there have been pirates. Pirates are sea robbers. They attack ships on the water and towns along sea coasts. Is this blurry? Right, there we go. There are many pirate legends and stories. The most famous are about pirates who lived over 200 years ago. The pirates in these tales lead exciting lives. They obey no laws. They find buried treasure. They sing songs about their daring deeds. Jack tells us that the word pirate comes from the Greek word pirates, which means attacker. The truth is that most real-life pirates of long ago led miserable lives. They spent long, boring days on the water. Ew, they ate rotten food. They caught terrible diseases, and many died in sea battles and shipwrecks. Pirates were outlaws. They lived in fear of being caught and punished for their crimes. Most often, the punishment for being a pirate was death. Still, thousands of people over the years chose to become pirates. Searching for treasure, they jumped aboard ships and set out on the open seas. Greek pirates. Some of the first pirates we know about lived nearly 3,000 years ago. They robbed trading ships sailing along the coast of ancient Greece. Annie says trading ships carry goods and passengers back and forth between countries. These ancient Greek ships hid on islands near the shore. When a trading ship passed by, they rowed out and surprised the sailors. Surprise! The pirates stole the ship's goods. They might also kidnap the sailors, and take over the ship. Jack tells us that a myth, that's a genre, is a story or legend that usually features heroes or gods. A Greek myth tells about pirates who kidnapped the god Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of wine and celebration. In the myth, Dionysus turns into a lion. The pirates jump into the sea. Dionysus changes them all into dolphins. Interesting. Roman pirates. Pirates were also a problem in ancient Rome. Thousands of pirates attacked ships carrying goods to and from Roman ports. Annie says that a port is a town or city where ships can load and unload their goods. These pirates even had their own pirate nation. It was on the coast of what is now Turkey. The great Roman leader, Julius Caesar, was captured by pirates when he was a young man. The pirates held Caesar prisoner for over a month. They let him go only after his father sent them money. I wonder how much money. I wonder how much he was worth. After he was rescued, Caesar led a fleet of ships to find the pirates. When the pirates were caught, Caesar had them all killed. Jack says a fleet is a group of ships with one commander. In 67 BC, a Roman general named Pompey led a war against all the pirates of ancient Rome. The Roman navy attacked the pirates' ships at sea. The Roman army attacked the pirates' camps on land. Over 3,000 pirates were captured or killed. And Annie says, oh wow, Pompey's son later became a pirate himself. Pirates from the north. Around 700 AD, Viking pirates began attacking villages along the coasts of Europe. The Vikings came from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. The word Viking means sea raider in the Norse language. The Vikings were good sailors and shipbuilders. Their ships were called longboats. Longboats were very fast. They usually had a single sail and many oars. There was often a dragon's head carved on the front. So if you're in the book, you can see these are the pictures of the longboats, and there's a dragon head on the front of their boat. When Vikings attacked a village, they raced off their longboats, screaming and waving swords and battle axes. They robbed homes and churches. They stole treasure and took captives. Ay, 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 ay. For 400 years, Vikings raided villages in Western Europe, Russia, and the Middle East. In spite of their fierce ways, many Vikings settled in the lands they invaded. They built homes, they farmed the land and raised families. Ooh, I'm looking at this dude right here. He looks interesting. This is called the Barbary Corsairs. Another group of sea raiders who began attacking ships during the Middle Ages was the Barbary Corsairs. Jack tells us that the Middle Ages was the time between about 450 and 1500 AD. And Annie tells us that Corsair is the French word for pirate. Arg. The Barbary Corsairs were seamen from the northern coast of Africa. They lived in countries called the Barbary States. The Barbary Corsairs were more interested in capturing people than in stealing treasure. Yikes. They held their captives prisoner until a ransom was paid. If no one paid the ransom, they sometimes sold their captives as slaves. Man, imagine if you were kidnapped and your family had to pay a ransom for you and then they never paid it. Then you could be sold as a slave. That's what happened. Pirates of the Far East. From earliest times, pirates also roamed the seas of the Far East. They raided ships in coastal towns of China, Japan, Borneo, and the Spice Islands. And Jack tells us Chinese wooden sailing ships were called junks. In the 1600s, a pirate named Cheng Chui Lung sailed the South China Sea with over 1,000 pirate ships. Later, a Chinese woman named Cheng Yisao led over 70,000, that's so much, men and women sailors in pirate raids. And he says the ancient Chinese invented the compass, an instrument that helps sailors figure out where they were going. We know what a compass is. Until the end of the 1400s, pirates mostly roamed the seas near Europe, Africa, and the Far East. But after 1492, pirates discovered a whole new world of ships to attack and rob. Jack and Annie tell us to, whoa! Did you hear? 1492. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. This is a map, and there's a cool picture timeline on the bottom that tells us about when the different pirates were pirating, stealing stuff. Chapter 2, page 27, called New World Pirates. Annie tells us that a voyage is a long trip on a ship. Christopher Columbus. In 1492, an explorer named Christopher Columbus made a sea voyage that changed the history of the world. Columbus was hired by the King and Queen of Spain. They wanted him to find a new way to get to the continent of Asia. Columbus never found a new way to Asia. Instead, he landed on an island in the Caribbean Sea. The island was in a part of the world that people in Europe did not know about. It is the area we now call the Western Hemisphere. In Columbus's time, it became known as the New World. I'm looking at this picture right here. And Jack says the Western Hemisphere is the half of the earth that includes North, Central, and South America. Native Americans lived here for thousands of years before Columbus. Page 29. After Columbus's voyage, Spanish explorers took over large areas of Central and South America. They destroyed the civilizations of the Native Americans. They stole their gold and silver. They stole their jewelry and precious stones. The Spanish loaded their stolen goods onto treasure ships. These ships were great targets for pirates. Jack tells us that a civilization is a group of people with an advanced way of life that includes science, art, and most often, writing. Ooh, I love the word buccaneer. Buccaneers. Some of the pirates who attacked Spanish treasure ships were called buccaneers. Buccaneers were mostly outlaws from England, Holland, and France. In the 1600s, they settled on several islands in the Caribbean. Just say buccaneers. It's a fun word to say. Buccaneers. Buccaneers lived in camps. They hunted cattle and wild pigs on their islands. They learned from Native Americans how to cook meat on grills called boucans. For this reason, they became known as the Buccaneers or the Buccaneers. Cool. I didn't know that. Spain ruled the islands where the Buccaneers lived. In the 1630s, Spanish rulers decided to drive them off the islands. The Buccaneers were furious. They became pirates. Buccaneers began attacking Spanish ships that sailed close to their islands. Oh, yikes. They would row out in canoes, maybe like the picture that we're looking at, row out in canoes and attack a ship with guns, knives, and axes. Then they would steal the ship's treasure. Ooh, we go from buccaneers to privateers. A special kind of sea raider was called a privateer. Privateers worked for a government. Oh, they had permission to attack ships that belonged to a country's enemies. Privateers took treasure from the ships they attacked and kept it for themselves. That's interesting. The government papers that gave permission to privateers were called letters of marque. Sometimes they gave part of their stolen treasure to the rulers who hired them. In the 1600s, the rulers of many countries wanted a share of Spain's New World riches. They often hired privateers to attack Spanish ships and towns. To their own countries, privateers were heroes. To their enemies, they were simply pirates. So actually, I kind of like totally skipped over it. Back on page 14, there's this picture of this dude here, and it says thousands of pirates were hanged for their crimes at sea. So being a pirate was illegal. You couldn't just jump on a ship and start beating up people and stealing their stuff. But what we just read over here about privateers, it says that some governments actually hired people to be pirates. They were trying to scare the people away from their own land. And I find it interesting that the rulers or the government people who hired the privateers didn't even ask for any of the treasure for themselves. It says that the privateers took the treasure and kept it for themselves, and then sometimes they chose to give it to the rulers or to the government that hired them, but they didn't have to. So that's interesting. I didn't know. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Page 34, how to be a buccaneer. I already like number 1. Here we go. Buccaneers were famous for their dirty, stinky ways. Here's how to become a buccaneer. Number 1, don't bathe or change your clothes. Buccaneers didn't wash for months at a time. They made their clothes from animal skins and dressed in the same clothes every day until they wore out. Number 2. Don't wear shoes. Buccaneers almost always went barefoot, even when they attacked a ship. Oh, wait, I'm all over number 3. Have a barbecue. Raise your hand if you would like to have a barbecue. I'm going to be a buccaneer. Ships from all over the world stopped at the Buccaneers' Islands for hides, water, and supplies. The sailors often enjoyed the meat the buccaneers grilled on their boucans. So don't bathe, don't change your clothes, don't wear shoes, and have a barbecue. Sounds like the life for me. Chapter 3, and then you guys can pause. The Golden Age of Pirates. Page 37. The late 1600s and early 1700s are known as the Golden Age of Pirates. During the Golden Age, governments hired more and more privateers to attack enemy ships. Buccaneers robbed each other, as well as the Spanish. The Barbary Corsairs continued to raid ships all over the Mediterranean Sea. And as colonies were established in North America, pirates of all kinds attacked the ships that traded with them. The seas became so dangerous that many countries began to crack down on piracy. They passed strict laws against pirates and anyone who traded with them. There you go. So it was illegal again. They sent warships to hunt pirates down. Hundreds of pirates were killed in battle. Others were put on trial and hanged for their crimes, back on page 14. In the 1720s, the golden age of pirates came to an end. But by then, a handful of pirates had become timeless legends. Jack and Annie's Gallery of Pirates, including tales and drawings of the most famous pirates of all time. Maybe you guys have heard of some of these people. Page 41, Sir Francis Drake. Sir Francis Drake was an English explorer, privateer, and pirate. He was also the first Englishman to sail around the world. When Drake was a young man, a ship he was on was attacked by the Spanish. Many of his friends were killed. For the rest of his life, Drake hated the Spanish. Wow. In 1577, Drake began his voyage around the world. Along the way, he attacked many Spanish ships and towns. The voyage took 3 years. Drake returned with a ship filled with treasure. Drake was knighted. That's what's happening in this picture. Drake was knighted by Queen Elizabeth I. Privateers like Sir Francis Drake became known as the Sea Dogs of Queen Elizabeth. They were heroes in England, but the Spanish thought they were evil pirates. Page 42, Henry Morgan. Henry Morgan was a famous buccaneer. He lived on the island of Jamaica in the Caribbean. Jamaica was ruled by England. In the 1660s, the Spanish tried to take over Jamaica. The governor of Jamaica gave Morgan and other buccaneers permission to attack Spanish ships and towns. Morgan led many attacks against the Spanish. He was known for his bravery and for his cruelty and wild ways. He attacked Spanish towns even after England and Spain had stopped fighting. To keep peace with Spain, the King of England had Morgan arrested. But Morgan was such a hero in England that he was never put on trial. Oh, so he committed a lot of crimes, but he was super famous, and they thought he was a hero, so they never took him to jail. He was later knighted and named Deputy Governor of Jamaica. Wow. This guy's cool. Next page is Captain Kidd. William Kidd was a New York sea captain. In 1695, the King of England hired Captain Kidd to hunt down pirates who were attacking trading ships. Instead, Captain Kidd and his crew became pirates and began attacking trading ships themselves. When he returned from his voyage, Captain Kidd was put on trial. There's the picture. He was put on trial. He claimed his crew had forced him to become a pirate, but Kidd was found guilty and hanged in 1701. So he blamed it on his friends. Captain Kidd buried some of his treasure before he was caught. Later, many legends grew up about the hidden treasure of Captain Kidd. Captain Kidd's in our book, you know. Long Ben Henry Avery. Henry Long Ben Avery started out as a sailor in the British Navy. In 1694, he was hired as a privateer. When the crew of his privateer ship didn't receive any pay, they decided to become pirates. They elected Long Ben as their captain. Long Ben and his crew captured a sailing ship from India. Oh, the ship was loaded with diamonds and other treasure. The treasure was worth over $400 million in today's money. Oh my goodness. Long Ben retired with his great riches, but legend says he was later cheated out of all of his money and died in poverty. So he had a lot of money, and then somehow somebody got it from him, and he died poor. Yikes. Black Bart, Bartholomew Roberts. Bartholomew Roberts was the most successful pirate of the Golden Age. He began his pirate career as a regular sailor. In 1719, a ship he was sailing on was attacked by pirates. Roberts joined them and became a pirate himself. The pirates later made him captain of the ship. Roberts then became known as Black Bart. In less than 4 years, Black Bart captured 400 ships. He was finally killed in a sea battle with the British Royal Navy. Oh, I love this one, page 50, because lady pirates. Mostly when we think of pirates, we think of men, but there were lady pirates, and I think that's cool. So page 50 talks about Calico Jack, John Rackham, Anne Bonny, and Mary Read. John Rackham was a captain of a pirate ship in the Caribbean in the early 1700s. He was called Calico Jack because he liked to wear colorful clothes made from a kind of cloth called calico. Anne Bonny met Calico Jack while he was ashore on the island where she lived. They fell in love. Anne dressed as a man and joined Calico Jack's pirate crew. On one of his pirate attacks, Calico Jack captured a young sailor. The sailor wanted to join the pirate crew. The sailor turned out to be another woman dressed as a man, and the woman's name was Mary Read. So they were dressing as men because pirates wouldn't take them seriously or follow their directions if they knew that they were women. So they pretended to be men so that they would gain some respect. Anne Bonny and Mary Read sailed with Calico Jack until his ship was captured in 1720. Reports say only Anne and Mary fought to defend their pirate ship. All the men hid below deck. They were scared. Calico Jack was hanged for his crimes. Anne Bonny and Mary Read were sent to prison. You guys might know this guy. Have you guys ever heard of Blackbeard? He's super famous. His real name is Edward Teach. It says Blackbeard was the most famous pirate of all time. But Blackbeard was a pirate for only 2 years, from 1716 to 1718. Blackbeard got his nickname from his long, bushy black beard, obviously. When he went into battle, he would braid pieces of rope into his beard and long hair. Then he would set them on fire. What? Who does stuff like that? People were so afraid of Blackbeard that they almost always gave up without a fight. Finally, the governor of Virginia sent the Navy to hunt Blackbeard down. The pirate fought like a wild man. Obviously, he lit his beard on fire. He was finally killed by the crew of a Navy ship. Chapter 4. So you guys can pause. See you in a minute.